Hello, how are you today? Am I on? Is this thing on? Oh man, I feel like the podcaster that's never ready. Part of that is my personality. I have a problem with being chronically behind schedule. I'll admit it. Not always. I can master it sometimes and then everything's cool. But anyway, I just have a brain scramble with all the crap that's been going on with the news. And I would imagine that anybody who's been paying attention does as well. It makes it really hard because I feel like I'm already like trying to straddle a couple of different camps, like political and true crime. I don't, let me just start with all my normal stuff. I don't come on scripted. I like to come on live. That's why I come on live, is so that I can just kind of talk conversation off the top of my head, see who shows up. I've got some wonderful regulars who I love dearly who will hopefully come in. Let's see. I moved my studio. I keep telling you guys I'll give you the full studio tour, and I will. It's still coming together. So, I got my little set over here all put together. And then the lighting is so challenging. I mean, that's not just me, that's just the way the world is. And then hair is a totally another thing. This is why we all wear hats. Anyway, please hit your like button if you don't mind, if you feel like it. I don't like telling people what to do, but reminders. Make sure you're still subscribed. If you are subscribed, hold on. Got to make sure you can see all that. If you can't read it, what are you going to do? And share a video of mine with somebody that you think might like the video or my channel in general. Turn on your notification bell to ring so that you will be notified when I come on live or drop a video. I've noticed across the boards real recently, like this week, today, it's been ramping up on YouTube with the censoring. For anybody who hasn't learned yet, Stephen Colbert was canceled yesterday. We know that Elmo's been canceled. I think, the whole fascism thing is happening as the whole little E thing is happening. But let me do my disclaimer. Everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, be educational. All my vids are made for YouTube. I usually say videos. On my vids, you got to be cool. And it's an infotainment platform. I'm always hoping to learn. And that's why I love coming on live, because even though I'm absorbing information around the clock and I'm trying to give myself the time to just let it sink in and process so that I can filter it through my own lens and my own stream of consciousness, because I have some pretty crazy ideas. Sherry, wouldn't you agree? Happy day. Oh, I love you, dear. You are awesome. Thanks for saying hi. Can you hear me okay and everything? Is the lighting terrible? And how is my hair? And as long as I don't have any cleavage showing, I'm okay with whatever it is I'm wearing. Those are my challenges. Anyway, enough about my problems. How are you, Sherry? How's your day going? It is Friday. So there's so much spaghetti being thrown at the wall, or so much chaos, or literally so many explosions and fires and things getting flooded. And I'm not even speaking in hyperbole or metaphorical. I'm speaking literal. I believe that it's designed so that none of us can keep up. And we just go brain dead. All that most of us want to do is like live our lives, right? Take care of ourselves, take care of our families. And that's a lot. It's hard to do that. And you are good. Love you too. Oh, you're so sweet. It's hard to take care of ourselves and our families, isn't it? I mean, people act like it's easy. Like, there's no reason to put on a front. No, everything is hard. Everything is hard. And again, as I always like to say, I live on cliches, many of which I invented myself, hopefully. This is one I invented myself. If that's your biggest problem, then you're one lucky SOB, aren't you? Or if that's my biggest problem, is being overwhelmed with news, I'm really lucky. I mean, I'm lucky that I'm not the one getting bombed or flooded or, you know. So a quick catch up, and I'm just trying to be extremely forthright and open and honest about how I'm doing, because I feel like it's been really hard the last week or two. I could just cry, but not for myself, for all of the people affected, like those flood victims in Texas. But there's flood victims like coast to coast right now. I did not know until yesterday that Vermont has been flooded 3 times on July 10th, 3 years in a row. Starting, and let me just speak crazy talk, starting 4 days prior to the 1-year anniversary of Ivana passing away. That was the first year that Vermont had a flood. The second year that Vermont had a flood was 3 days before El Presidente was hit and missed by a bullet at the same time. It was a hit, it was a miss, it was a miss hit, it was a hit miss. You know how that man's brain works, or doesn't work, if you can call him a man. I say monster. Like, I'm sick of censoring myself for this platform or anything else. He needs to freaking go. He needs to step off. He's very likely about to do that naturally on his own, with whatever effing medical condition it is that they finally spoke about yesterday. They being who? Caroline with a KKK? Like, we can trust anything that comes out of that biatch's mouth? Yes, all the floods are devastating. Sherry, did you hear about the 3 freaking sheriff's deputies in California that got blowed up today? What? Los Angeles? Right outside of Los Angeles, like the eastern side, in a training, like a bomb squad training. 3 sheriff's deputies are no longer with us. A triple law enforcement. Let's just say that there's no conspiracy behind that, and it's just like a wild coincidence that happens on the same day that, last night, the dumpster fire told Pamela Blondie Bondi to release the files, release everything that she thinks is relevant from the grand jury. So it's kind of like specific. Release these files over here, what you see fit. Like, how's that any different from where they've been at for so long? OMG. So yeah, then the 3rd year of Vermont flooding would be 8 days ago. 6 days after these kids in Texas. The thing in Texas is so predictable when you look at the lay of the land, with where the water was and where the cabins were and where the camps were. They had a big flood at that Mystic Camp in 1987, which is almost 40 years ago, 38 years ago. That was a big flood. They've had smaller floods since, but that was so predictable. And then to have that man who is the CEO of Rainmaker, go on to CNN a few days ago to be interviewed to explain to everybody what cloud seeding is and how it couldn't have possibly had anything to do with the flooding of Kerrville and the Guadalupe River. Oh, and by the way, they were doing some cloud seeding just south of there on July 2nd. Like, oh, well, that puts my mind at rest. Like, I literally wasn't thinking that cloud seeding could have had anything to do with it, even though I know that there is cloud seeding. And I was doing more research and learning that Utah, Colorado, and Wyoming are the 3 states that use cloud seeding the most. But cloud seeding is, not going to cause something like that, allegedly. And then him coming on to CNN, a very reputable news source. Now we've got Donnie Toodles threatening to sue his other bestie, because his one bestie is dead but won't die. And he says that was just like 3 or 4 years ago. It's like, no, pay attention. That was 6 years ago. Like, the anniversary is coming up in a month, almost less than a month, 6, which is like twice as many as 3. Okay. 3 or 4 years ago, he was probably trying to get out. He was trying to squirm his way out of the fact that he was indeed the president when Epstein was Epstein, right? And Donald Barr's son, William Barr, just happened to be the attorney general when Epstein was Epstein. And man, if they tried to squiggle their way out of any relation with little e and the Barr senior, Donald Barr, the man who hired him allegedly at the all-girls school. It's not an all-girls school. It was an all-girls school. It is no longer an all-girls school. He was the headmaster there for 10 years, but then he wasn't the headmaster there. So no, he didn't really, we don't know that he hired Epstein. We're not going to deny it. We're not going to admit it. We just don't know. Check Snopes, man. Snopes is the worst. They're like the king and queen and prince and princess of the whitewashing. Anyway, I'm sorry to be ignoring your comments, Sherry. Thank you for being here and thank you for your comments. No, I haven't heard about that. OMG, I woke up this morning, my husband, he woke up. I was like, sweetie, did you hear about this? The minute I heard about it, I didn't know anything except 3 deputies no longer. I was like, that is so bizarre. It is so uncommon to have law enforcement mass casualty. And it just happens to be California. Donnie Toodle's favorite state, because he's not having a pissing contest with anybody who's the governor there. OMG. So yeah, they're treating it as a crime scene at this training facility in East LA. And yeah, they better treat it as a crime scene. They better rule out any possibility of foul play before they say, oh, no, there's nothing that looks the slightest bit suspicious. I'd say that 3 deceased commissioned law enforcement officers looks suspicious. Nothing to see over here, folks. That's not even taking into account anybody who is maybe injured and not going to make it. We haven't heard anything about how many injuries there were. I mean, I watched like an hour of live footage, and maybe there's been some announcements in the last couple of hours. I need to research cloud seeding. I don't know what it is. So it's a very scientific process that was, I think, discovered in the 40s and then started being practiced, I think, mostly by military in the 60s. And it's been common practice ever since. And it's supposed to be very safe and regulated. And it's supposed to help with storms. So the first time I really had the light bulb switch on that this was a real thing was literally just a couple months ago. My sister that lives in Florida was talking about the cloud seeding of one of their more recent hurricanes and how they seeded it just in time so that it didn't hit the area she was in. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Seeded it? Huh? And she's like, yeah, they go into the eye of the hurricane and they drop silver iodide, and it helps speed up or slow down, I think speed up the precipitation. So it gives them a little control of trying to create some damage control, trying to make some damage control. So if you read scientifically about it, it's like 20% increase of precipitation. So the silver iodide, and they use other, it's like dry ice, okay? Like they drop dry ice into the eye of the hurricane, and then it creates crystallization that creates precipitation in the form of snowflakes. It crystallizes, but then if the temperature is warm, it's going to rain. If the temperature is cold, it's going to snow. So to do it in places like Colorado and Utah, I would imagine is for the ski industry. That was mentioned in some of the articles that I read. To do it in a place like Wyoming, I don't think there's much skiing in Wyoming, to my knowledge, but there's a lot of farmers, right? There's a lot of herding. There's a lot of herds of animals. So isn't that the state that RFK Jr. lives in? And man, is he a shite show at the moment that's about to explode, I think. Probably over the weekend. We're going to be hearing more about RFK, and he's probably going to get blowed up, literally or figuratively, in my opinion, just like his dear leader is getting blowed up. I mean, those two hated each other, and then they decided to make friends, probably because of the e-files, because they're both all over the flight logs. They're both complete dirtbags. They both, in my opinion, very likely had something to do with their ex-wives passing away. Mary Richardson is the one that was 15 when she met RFK Jr. and he was 21. And she's been had been carrying around the family secrets from that day forward until she passed away when she was 52. I think she passed away somewhere around 2012 about 2 years into a very litigious, contentious divorce and custody battle. And she passed away in pretty much a duplicate fashion that Virginia Giuffre passed away 3 months ago, the end of April, 10 days before the Diddy trial started. You know, Virginia Giuffre had made mention of Donnie Two Dolls. She retracted all of that, as did all of the other little E victims that mentioned little T. They all retracted it. The ones that are still alive, anyway. The stuff is disgusting. So I'm going to try to calm down because I didn't even notice Anna Bees came in. Sweetheart, how are you? So yeah, you got me all like running with the cloud seeding, Sherry, because the thing I want to say before I read the rest of the comments is that if there wasn't a denial of cloud seeding up until real recently, it was just like across the board's denial, like, no, you're crazy. Nobody's seeding no clouds. Okay, it's been going on for roughly 60 years, allegedly. So, quit all the freaking denial and the gaslighting, sheer gaslighting. So if they're going to lie about that, they're lying about everything, every freaking thing. And they're still not coming forward and admitting to how many of the freaking flood victims at Camp Mystic were 8 years old. I did a short live last night about that. I finally found an article. They finally did recover every fatality they recovered every flood victim's remains so that their families can lay them to rest. The majority of the victims from Camp Mystic were 8 years old, by far and away, 18. Camp Mystic had about 27, 28 victims. 18 of them were 8 years old. 5 of them were 9 years old. One of them was a 10-year-old. 2 of them were camp counselors, 18 and 19. And then there was the 70-year-old director, CEO, Eastman. I think Jim Eastman is his name. So he was actively trying to rescue kids. He had gotten a couple carloads of kids to higher ground. He was probably rescuing them from the Twin Inn, I think is what it was called. So you had the Twin Inn right next to Bubble Inn. Not a single soul from Bubble Inn survived. Not a single one. So both counselors and all of the kids, which was probably 13 kids. 15 of the total victims of 27, 28 were all in that one cabin. And then the other cabin right next to it, half of the kids survived. All of the counselors survived. And then, so the man that owned the camp, Eastman, he must have been rescuing some of the ones that survived from Twin Cabin, because about 11 or 12 survived, about 11 or 12 didn't survive. But when he passed away, he was in his vehicle, I think on his third run, I think with 3 of these youngsters in the vehicle, and they all didn't make it. And then so there was a 10-year-old that was from a different location. But that's all of the victims from Camp Mystic. So they have recovered all of their remains, and it's all getting overshadowed with the e-files. And now it feels to me like they're trying to overshadow the e-files with anything they can. After that insane article that's probably being published today by the Wall Street Journal, Rupert Murdoch. I was saying that's little T's other bestie after little E. And sorry, I hit my mic. I don't know if that made a big noise. Anyway, I'm reading your comments, Anna Peace. Oh man, I'm just spinning. I'm going to try to just breathe. I'm still doing my yoga. Those are the moments that I get my bearings. Hey, Jazz, Sherry, and everyone. Thank you for the information on cloud seeding. Yeah, so I learned most of it just from Google and artificial intelligence. Like I said, my sister is the one who tuned me in recently because I thought that was crazy talk. Like, you can't fly into the eye of a hurricane and drop things that are going to influence the hurricane? What? So if this has been going on common practice, then... So I guess the subways in New York City flooded. I've been mentioning Chicago, Boston, San Antonio, New Mexico, Jersey, New York. So I didn't know about Vermont until yesterday. And I didn't know about the subways in New York City. Like, what in the world is going on? I honestly think that it's like a mass distraction technique. In my crazy, humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly. I just woke up. Well, they never cloud seeded in Arizona. Oh, well, so there's probably some states where it's illegal, I would imagine. I think there's a lot of states that don't want anything to do with it. I think there's controversy about like the chemicals that they put in there. I mean, think about it. It could be like mercury for all we know. I mean, I don't know what silver iodide is. Do you? I know that dry ice is a dangerous hazard. a hazardous substance, hazmat, right? Hazardous material. I saw your live last night. So sad. Oh, I know, Anna Bees. I was just devastated. I could barely do it, but I really wanted to do it because that was information that I've been waiting for. And I'm really relieved that everybody's remains from that Camp Mystic were recovered. I'm sure there's still a lot of victims from other places whose remains have not been recovered, and unfortunately there'll be some that will probably never be recovered. I mean, it's just so sad when people don't have answers. So thank goodness that all those kids. So you might have heard me mention in the live, Anna Bees, that one of the moms of one of the 8-year-olds got a handwritten letter in the mail from her 8-year-old after her baby passed away. Can you imagine? Let me let the puppy dog in. Come on, baby. Come on, Mookie. Man, these dogs are so funny. They love coming in here because it's nice and quiet, and I'm in here. And if they come in one at a time, so now there's another one scratching at the door. Then like they have like a timeout from the craziness of the three of them together. I guess I'm gonna get up one more time. Sorry. Come on, Coco. Yeah, Coco and Mookie, they really need to take breaks from that crazy little ragamuffin. So here they are taking a nice break. Is my lighting too bright? It kind of looks like it is to me, but let me just read what you guys are saying. Little T is flipping out lately. I think he is like literally dying. It wouldn't surprise me if he Epstein's himself. I mean, metaphorically, he kind of is, right? He's just going nuts. He's just. I've been saying it for weeks that he's like the dragon in the death throes. OMG. And then for them to admit to these health issues yesterday, Anna Bees, as a nurse, I'm really interested in what you think. And look, Fred's here too. And it's 3 minutes before I even notice because I'm just so much swimming in all the cray cray. Fred, um, been trying for 20 minutes to post here. Dang. See, I think it might be that that you're seen as a threat to YouTube. They see Fred Field posting on JusticeAtooZ live chat comments as a threat to the cabal because there's been so much weird stuff going on with the tube and censoring and shadow banning or whatever you want to call it, and maybe it's something else. Fred, I'm curious what you think, but I am going to stay caught up with your comments because that always is so much better. How weird, Anna B says, and hope you're doing okay. Yes, I heard you say that about the mom getting a letter. It's so sad, but she will cherish that letter forever. It's just so sad. Like those cabins should not have been slept in, period, in my opinion. And they especially shouldn't have been slept in by the littles. I'm glad that they did describe in that article the logic that they thought they had of why they housed the littles right there, so that they were like closer to the dining hall and closer to the administration offices and such. But it's called the Flats, and if you haven't seen, you can just look at the little thumbnail from my video yesterday, and you can see very graphically how the water is just right there. They're at the fork in the two rivers or creeks. I mean, I guess Guadalupe River, and then whatever that creek was called, I forget. I think the bruises on his hands are from IVs. I think he has congestive heart failure with all the swelling. Right. So, Anna Bees, have you heard how Caroline with the KKK explained it yesterday in one of her stupid pressers? where she was like, "Oh, well, I guess I'll address it since we've been getting so much comments." And it's like, well, but you always ignore comments, so why are you addressing it now? It was almost like a sympathy attempt, in my opinion. Like, well, let's quit talking about Epstein because this old man has some health problems. But then, like, they describe the health problems, and then they're like, but it's fine, everything's good. We have a doctor that says it's all good, it's fine, nothing's bad. So shut up already. BoobTube says, did someone say they want info on cloud seeding? There are tons of patents. Hi, everyone. Hello, hello. Yes, BoobTube. If you want to put links in, feel free. So, yeah. Love you guys. Thanks for being here. So, yeah. Oh, man. Like, where to even begin? You know, there's so many great YouTube content creators, and there's this really weird one called the Knitting Cult Lady, right? I've spoken about her before. She's just weird AF, and I love her. She's amazing. She's so weird in such a good way. So, you know, I got kind of overwhelmed by how intense and honest she is. And I hadn't watched her for a few days. And then I watched her today right before I came on. And I was just like, damn, girl. She is on fire. So she grew up in a cult. She's written books about becoming uncultured, and she's spoken out a lot about the MAGA cults. And one of her points in her video today was, in the event that you have somebody that you love who still hasn't, that's in the MAGA cult, who hasn't really come out yet, that she just has some guidelines for how you can help them if you see fit. I thought that was super interesting. I'll put a link in the description, of course. And hi there, BoobTube. It was me about the cloud seeding. You bet. There you go. Awesome. Yeah, and I saw the email that you sent and the post that you put up on your channel with all those documents. And I sent you an email back saying, I'm not sure what I'm looking for. Was it for Scammy's mother and father in that long list of people? Am I reled to Trumpster? We both have the same vein disease. Oh, the deep vein thrombosis, Fred. You know, and I wanted to say, I'm pretty sure Mick Jagger is older than Trumpster Fire. And he's in phenomenal health. He looks like he's 20. I mean, sure, he's rich AF, but he takes care of himself. I mean, Donnie's rich AF, but he's never taken care of himself. Except if you call victimizing young women, if you call that taking care of yourself, which in a really twisted way it is. I mean, if you're a pedo, then that's taking care of yourself. And I'm thinking more and more that he's actually a pedo. So in my thumbnail, I put some photographs of him with his daughter when she was like 8. And he's like squeezing her hand so tight, it looks like he's going to give her a big bruise on the back of the hand, you know, like his, that he tries to say is from shaking hands. So there's another link. There's a couple. Sherry, my sister has that vein disease too, Fred. My mom had that too. I'll go find a good website, seeing I can't share PDF here. Right, but also we can put the link to your channel or to your post if possible. Feel free. Because isn't that a PDF, the one that I was asking? Is it Scammy's parents that are on that list? I hope you feel better, Fred. I hope you're feeling better too. See, senors, but not the list you're thinking of. Must read the title of the document. It's a registry. Well, I thought it was not like an Epstein list. The thing with Scammy's parents on it. Um, I'm forgetting now. If you want to say what the registry is, please do. I would appreciate it. But if you don't want to, that's all right too. You're welcome, Sherry. BoobTube, your posts are so great. That's just an internet archive link for the Academy. The Academy of Insanity? What Academy? Is this like so let's talk about the Titanic cults. And I'm going to drink a little coffee to help me brain, because in my thumbnail, I also put an image. So at the top of the thumbnail is Trumpster fire with Ivanka when she was really small at like a black tie event, and her wearing like massive gold chains that P. Diddy would wear, even one around her waist. And now I'm thinking of like a tiger with a chain around its neck. It's weird. She looks completely flipped out. She does not look comfortable. And she does not look like she wants to be there. And it looks like he's dragging her by the hand. And it's just creepy AF. There's a lot of creepy pictures of them together with her sitting on his lap and just all kinds of repulsive stuff. But back to the thumbnail. In the left hand side of the lower left of the thumbnail is a pentagon with some Titanic symbols. And then in the lower right is little E with a young woman in front of his airplane and what looks like a Titanic symbol on his airplane that also looks like it's probably a Titanic symbol, in my opinion, that's made to be disguised as his initials, like JE, but the E is pointing up. And that symbol, that red symbol on the airplane, looks just like one of the symbols in the Pentagon of the Titanic stuff. And I don't think that that's a coincidence, because it's just creepy AF. So if you haven't noticed that later or now, you can go back to look at the thumbnail and go, dang. I have seen terrible pics of her with him. Yeah, I was looking at some today. I was just like, oh, like I've seen him before and I've tried to block him out of my mind's eye. All you have to do is Google Trump with Ivanka, and all of them, there's a bunch that come up. I'm sure there's a bunch that have been scrubbed off the interweb as well. Here you go, Sherry. I'm a shut up now so I don't derail what she's saying. Oh, you're good, sweetheart. Or I don't know if I'll call you sweetheart. You're good, man. You're good, dude. So yeah, thanks for the consideration. So I mean, I just feel like I'm derailing myself in three directions as I'm trying to talk about the e-files, trying to talk about the chaos of all of the fires and flooding the zone and explosions, just mass chaos. That is how bad guys operate. Is they're, I go back to Get Smart because those are some of my earliest memories. I loved watching Get Smart, and he would talk about the chaos agents, and I didn't know what that meant. I didn't even know what the word chaos meant. But you know that Trumpster Fire says, his son said yesterday that we know that that's not a picture that his dad wrote. He didn't write the picture of the naked lady and the poem and all that weird crap in the birthday letter card to Epstein. That's creepy AF and is just straight up pedo perv admission, in my opinion. And he's like, I didn't write that. And his son's like, he didn't write that. He doesn't even know what an enigma is. He's never used that word in his life. Yeah, he has. He's used the word enigma in speeches. And yeah, he does write drawings. I've never written a drawing, he said, something like that. Nobody writes a freaking drawing. You draw a drawing, you write words. And I'm like, is it just his brain malfunctioning that he's forgetting that the word write doesn't go with draw, it goes with letters? Or is he just speaking crazy because he's crazy? Is that just the normal double speak, double think, crazy mofo? Okay. There's so much. And I've got so many good notes. So yeah, canceling Colbert, canceling Elmo, Fred Rogers, from Mr. Rogers, he spoke about this kind of crap going on. He spoke about how important public broadcasting is. It was like he was predicting this exact thing happening. But man, don't piss off Elmo. Don't piss off Elmo. You do not want to see Elmo mad. Everybody thinks Elmo's so nice and happy-go-lucky, but you haven't seen Elmo mad. Let's see. Brendan Avito had a good video. He covered the Howard Stern clip too, the other alleged incidences with 13-year-olds, etc. I'm going to write that name down. And if you want to put a link in, feel free. Brendan. I don't know that name, Avito. But yeah, there's so much flooding of information. So the problem with the flooding of the information is that none of us can keep up. And a lot of people don't even try because they're too busy just like living their lives and working and paying the bills and trying to keep their heads above water. But I wanted to share with you guys a conversation that the UPS man had with me in my driveway yesterday because it was very significant to me. And I'll tell you in a second. I want to keep caught up too. So remind me if I forget at the end of staying caught up. That's what I was going to tell you. I'm just going to write down UPS. Okay. Can't risk it because you know how it is. You can call me sweetheart, LOL. Rarely do I get that name slung at me. I'll take it. That's cute. Put the link in for that too. Okay, I'll get it on it, Anna. Be right back. There you go, Anna. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for all the links, BoobTube. That's totally awesome. Aceto, ACETO. Damn, autocorrect. ACETO. Got it. Okay, so yesterday, should I tell you the long story? I thought I would just because it's hilarious. The other day I was backing up out of my driveway. I had my daughter in the car. It was when we were going to Costco a few nights ago. And some people were walking by with their little toddler that was walking. So they had a stroller, but the toddler was out of the stroller. So I kept an eye on that little kid like nobody's business to make sure that everything was fine because I'm backing out of my driveway. And you know how that is. Like, you just can't be too safe. And so I hit a car that was parked on the other side of the street, and it just so happens to be owned by us. So I knew it was there. And I dented up the door of that car and the back right rear of the car that I was driving. I dented them both up so bad. And I was so upset. But then I was like, you know what? The kid is safe. Nobody was hurt. What gets me so upset in a situation like that, other than the stupidity, is that there could have been somebody else back there. That's what gets me so upset. It's like, yeah, I was being safe with the one little kid, but for all I knew, there could have been a gaggle of little kids because I didn't, and I had just gotten into the car, so I hadn't adjusted all the mirrors. Anyway, so that was a couple days ago. And yesterday, my husband and my daughter were out there fixing the one car. And so I noticed they were out there fixing it. And I was like, well, since I did it, maybe I should go help. And just so you know, with a plastic corner, this is a Subaru, the bumper that's plastic was dented so bad, but we were able to pull the dent out with all kinds of crafty creativity with the three of us, and then take a mallet and just tap, 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 tap to smooth it out. Like, you can barely see, other than the cracks in the paint, you can barely see that there was ever an issue to begin with. So I'm just like buffing out the end of it, tap, tap, tap with the mallet, and the UPS comes by, and I'm like wearing my yoga outfit. So I'm like trying to hide behind the car. And, he's being all friendly talking. And something came up. Oh, he was playing the news in his UPS van, and it was all about the e-files and stuff. So, much to my surprise, I'm having a political conversation with the UPS guy. And, I was being a little careful, and I think he was being a little careful. I mean, again, as the UPS guy, I'm sure you're instructed not to have a political conversation with anybody ever, but not turning him in. I won't say any identifying factors. But because it stunned me, and I just see him as kind of like, Joe Plumber, just your average Joe, just your average older guy. He was probably around 60. And he said, really, it was a long time ago, and maybe and there's some really powerful world leaders involved. So maybe everybody should just forget about it and move on. And, without being offended or being offensive, I said, well, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of children that their lives were destroyed. Some of them aren't even alive anymore because of it, and many are. And for them to hear their president saying that it never happened is just wrong. So that was sort of how the conversation ended. But I wanted to share with you, because I believe that a lot of people have that sentiment of, because it wasn't them and it wasn't their kid, they just don't understand the gravity of how awful it is for the survivors. First of all, to have survived it to begin with. Second of all, to be gaslit by the president on an international platform. Okay. I'm glad I got that off my chest. No problem, Jazz. My pleasure. Sorry to hear about your car situation. Again, I always say, if that's my biggest problem, how lucky am I? The kid was safe. Nobody was hurt. We were able to get the dents pretty much completely out of the Subaru. The other car with the door, that's metal, so it's kind of bad. I don't know what we'll do about it. If we were to go through our insurance company, we'd get slammed by our insurance rates, so we're not going to do that. We're just fixing it on our own. You remind me of my friend. Don't worry about things like that. You didn't do anything bad. Give yourself some grace. Well, Annabise, the thing that I was really proud of myself is that my kid, who turns 18 next week, a week from today, he did exactly that, backing out of our driveway with the pickup truck. I don't even think he had his license yet. I think it was when he just learned how to drive, and he was, I think my husband was in the passenger seat. So he was driving with his permit. He was still learning, but he thought he knew how to drive. And he just drove straight into my minivan. It was my minivan that he screwed up, I think. Anyway, and he screwed up the back of the pickup truck. We have too many cars because we have too many people driving in our household. At one point, we had like 6 cars out in front of our house and in the driveway and everything. So anyway, when he did that, I really bit my lip from berating him. I tried to go with the same MO of, nobody was hurt. It's a good learning experience, because until you have a wreck, you just don't even think that you can get in one. You have this like unrealistic, the way teenagers think. You think you're not even immortal. Like, you could never get hurt. You could never die in a car crash. You could never crash up a vehicle. So once you hear that metal crashing and you're the one driving, you're like, oh, ouch. Okay. I guess I should be more careful. That can happen anytime. So again, to reiterate, I didn't say anything harsh to him at all. I was very supportive, and I said, I'm glad that is all that happened. I'm glad that nobody was hurt. And in a way, I'm glad that you've had an accident. So now you understand how easy it is to get into an accident. And that was like a year or two ago. So I've never said anything mean to him about it. And then just a couple of weeks ago, my sister, the one that lives in Florida, she called me telling me she did the same thing that I did. And she was all freaked out. She'd just done it. She was trying to cover up the evidence. No one must know, right? And so we've got to make sure that nobody in her family sees this video, or I'll be dead. Anyway, I was trying to be supportive, and it was really hard for me to not say, like, how stupid can you be? But I was trying to be the nice, supportive sister, and I was just like, yeah, that's awful. Yeah, I know how that is. And so I was so proud of myself that I was so nice to both my kid and my sister, so that when I did it, I wasn't nice to myself. I was just like, oh my God, I'm stupid. And my poor kid, my 13-year-old in the passenger seat, I was so pissed. She thought I was pissed at her. She's like, Mom, I didn't do anything wrong. It's not my fault. I'm like, honey, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at me. It was funny. But again, all learning experiences, right? And my point is just to warn everybody to be nice to anybody that does something like that, because we all know that we're hard enough on ourselves. And then if we're harsh on other people, we're going to have some bad karma to deal with, right? Okay, on to the next thing. I just thought I'd share the thing about the UPS driver, because for someone that has no experience with trauma and no experience with recovery from trauma, I think it's easy just to not take this stuff real seriously and just be like, oh, boys will be boys. And that was so long ago. It's like, yeah, that's the problem, is that boys need to learn how to behave better. If it's like, if you've heard people say, if you want to stop grape, then don't grape. Like, it's not just a matter of like females making sure that they're all covered and not walking alone at night. It's a matter of the dudes not doing it. Hello. What a concept, right? So yeah, the boys will be boys attitude perpetuates the cycle, and that's a problem. That's a huge problem. And this is a great opportunity, not only to get our government straightened out and pull it up out of the gutter, but to get all of that straightened up and pulled up out of the gutter. It's a crisis. It's an absolute national crisis, and it's a good opportunity for positive change. So yeah, stuff happens. I get it. You're a patient person. I applaud you. Oh man, I've been told that I'm a patient person, and I find it ironic. Like, I used to make jewelry for a living, so I would just be sitting doing the jewelry, and yeah, you have to be very, very patient to do that. It took a lot of patience to just tap, tap, tap lightly with the mallet to keep trying to smooth out the dent, because it was fascinating how if you just tap, 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 it like popped the part that was pushed in. It would just pop it out ever so slightly with each tap. If it didn't look like there was anywhere to tap, but I just kept doing it for like half an hour. That's when the UPS guy caught me and roped me into a conversation. But I'm patient with some things. I'm not at all patient with other things. So thank you for the compliment. And yeah, being a parent, it's kind of mandatory to be patient. And also, I wasn't a parent until I was 34 years old, so I got to mature. I got to like grow up some as much as possible before becoming a parent. And no matter how stressful things get as a parent, I always try to remember again how lucky I am to have kids, because for a while there, we didn't think it was in the cards for us. Yes, teach your boys to be respectful and not do those things. Well, Anna B's, I got two boys and two girls, and you know what we're up against as parents with the internet these days. Ugh. And just what's common, even mainstream media. You don't even have to get onto the internet, just mainstream media. It's awful. So, yeah, back to the thing about Stephen Colbert being canceled. I grew up with my kids. Oh, that's right. You had one really young. And my oldest son, he's a dad now, and he's just turned 21. So, did you guys hear about Colbert getting canceled yesterday? My my thoughts on that, I talked about it a little bit at the beginning of the video, are that it's um, the autocrat just trying to shut people up that make fun of him, and that there's this thing called the internet where, I mean, this just cracks me up. Let me try to say this in a funny way, because we do need to be lighthearted, don't we, with some of this painful stuff. Um, Trumpster Fire is in control of mainstream media. He either owns these networks or his buddies own these networks, and he's suing these networks. He's owning them. He's got them by the balls. He's controlling the networks. So he wants to cancel Colbert for making fun of him, and he can do that because, he's in the driver's seat. He's got the power. But what's so funny is he's such an old man. It's like, dude, do you not realize that the networks are kind of meaningless in our new format of technology and the way information is transmitted? like like you can go ahead and own all of the mainstream media. That's, I mean, YouTube has its problems too with the people that own it, that quash things and censor things. But then there's other platforms too, and there's just going to continue to be more and more platforms, not to mention just human interaction, right? Although there's not a lot of that in person anymore. It pretty much happens this way. But yeah, I just thought it was kind of hilarious. Like, he's thinking that he's owning Stephen Colbert and that he's owning CBS, I think was that network. And it's just like, as if that's going to stop Stephen Colbert from making fun of him, as if that's going to stop people from laughing at him. If he wants to stop people from laughing at him and making fun of him, maybe he should quit being such a freak, man. Um, yes. Um, I did hear that. Anna B says, what network was he on? I can't spell his name, so I'm not going to try. LOL. I think it was CBS. I think Colbert. But I'm fully expecting the rest of all the good ones to get canceled. I mean, he's been out for Jimmy Kimmel for a long time. He has been out for Jimmy Kimmel. I love Jimmy Kimmel, man. I mean, I think what happens in these situations is that he's just throwing gasoline onto the fire. It's sort of like YouTube taking down my little 55-second video. All that does is inspire me that, oh, okay, so that was a good thing. Otherwise, I don't think they would have touched it. He's a creep. Nothing will change that. Yeah. He's absolutely a creep. So it's becoming more and more apparent. I'm always joking that Melania is a mail order bride. What do you know? She was a mail order bride. I mean, not in the sense of like typical mail order bride logistics, but the Kit Kat Club. We all know that they met at the Kit Kat Club, and that Little E and Ghislaine were part of supplying the Kit Kat Club with these beautiful models from other countries that were young, and then bringing the dirty old rich men in to be disgusting creeps, right? So that's how they met. I can only imagine the contract that she signed because, then she got an Einstein visa, which is like a visa for somebody who's really smart and has a lot to offer our country and our culture and humanity. So you give them an Einstein visa so that they can remain in the US and teach or do their research or do whatever they're doing. So, she's an Einstein of hotness, right? And then all of her family members got citizenship through the Trumpster fire and through her Einstein visa. The exact type of thing that Trumpster fire is having no more, that he's extinguishing. It's been my belief all along that all of the stuff with ICE and all the arrests and putting people in these alligator Alcatraz, Auschwitz types of bull crap, that there's many purposes of doing that. And one of those purposes I have felt like from the beginning was to threaten her, that was Donnie's way of threatening the woman that's legally married to him and completely dependent on him, that's his way of holding that over her head and letting her know that her and her family could lose their citizenship any second that he decides, in the blink of an eye. So I don't think things are going well in their marriage, despite the fact that her or somebody who looks like her has been hanging out with him a lot for the last week or two. So at the soccer game last week, where he was sitting next to one of the most corrupt individuals in the world, Infantissimo, and then he had another one of the most corrupt individuals in the world, Christy Nome, sitting right in front of him, looking like a 12-year-old kid with so much Botox in her face. It was just like oozing out. And then somebody, either Melania or somebody who looked a lot like Melania, was next to him I think in a white dress with some white sunglasses that looked very peculiar. And so those glasses, I believe, are what you would call what's the name for it? I think I wrote it down. Um, there's a new name for it. They're technology. They're basically like almost like Google glasses, except that she's probably like watching YouTube and stuff. Do you guys know the name for it? Like I said, I'm pretty sure I wrote it down. Let me see. I haven't looked at these notes in a few minutes also. Um, oh, and there's so many notes. How can I even keep up? You don't see the FLOTUS too much anymore, but when she isn't intentionally smiling for the camera, she looks very sad. Well, and a lot of times I don't think it's her. When her skin looks really rough, I don't think that's her. She's the queen of spas, no doubt. I mean, she takes meticulous care of herself. She's a model. Dang it, I wish I could remember the name of that. When you have technology, I think it's just called wearable technology that you wear. It's called a wearable. So that's what those weird glasses were. Did you see the weird glasses? So I mean, I would love to have glasses like that so I could just like watch my YouTube when I'm grocery shopping or whatever. I mean, I do that anyway, but it would make it easier. I admit I do that anyway. With an AirPod and the little cell phone, and I've got my Apple Watch, but I don't use it. I don't really know how to use it. I need glasses like that, damn it. I always wanted those Google glasses when they first came out with those, like, oh, that was like 12 years ago when it was like a brand new thing. And Bill Gates had that hot chick that worked for him wearing the Google glasses. And I think that was like the first fissure in the marriage with, oh, Melinda Gates. I was thinking Melania, but isn't that funny? Melinda Gates and Melania Trump, their first names are very similar. And yeah, Gates is implicated in this crap with Epstein, and yeah, who isn't implicated? Um, I've been wondering for a long time if Keg's breath is definitely Clinton. It doesn't matter what side of the politics people are on. Anybody who's implicated in that, let them suffer the consequences of their actions. Let it be known. Let it all out. Um, yes, but their intention is to get it in our brain. No thanks. Yes, the computer chip. Yeah. The Neuralink. I used to joke around about that a lot. I do still joke around about it. These people are crazy. Like, you don't do surgery on a body if not necessary. Bodies have a homeostasis that when you cut into the body shuts down, and you never know how the recovery is going to go. I mean, that's even without an anesthesia. When you go under full anesthesia, you never know if you're going to come out or not. I mean, there's just too many things that can go wrong. And yeah, I don't care if they say a Neuralink is safe. And yeah, for people that, were in an accident like Christopher Reeves, if a Neuralink can help them, then great. I know that that is going on in our medical technology, and fantastic. But again, you could argue that that's a surgery that's necessary. Can help people regain the ability to walk or feed themselves if they've suffered great damage. I liked Clinton, so I am conflicted. Well, I never liked the crap with Monica. When he did that thing, like, I think I liked him up until the day he said, it depends what your definition of is. I was just like, I literally thought he was kidding. I thought he was trying to be funny. And it took me a second to realize he was serious. And I was just like, I am done. DONE with this crap. It depends what your definition of is. Talk about splitting hairs. It's like the worst lawyer argument I've ever heard in my life. I'm sure he's got a law degree, right? Probably from Harvard. I'm not even sure. But you got to remember too that the Clintons were tight with freaking Sean Combs. And I think that he was invited to the daughter's wedding. I think that the big E was at that wedding. I think that even the little E might have been at that wedding. I know little T was at that wedding. They're all friends. They're all freaking friends. This is just gross. And you're not supposed to interrupt the body's natural frequency. Bad news. Exactly, boob tube. See, I thought that was a comment from Anna Bees with her being an RN. But yeah, I mean, you just don't. The body has its homeostasis. You do not interrupt that homeostasis unless you absolutely have to, unless it's required. You just don't. You just allow nature to do its thing. What's so creepy about these people with their technology and everything is that like they think that they're going to never die. They think that they're going to be like brains in a jar controlling the world or something. I mean, get over your big old self. What are you, a teenager? You are a mortal. We're all mortal. I know sometimes being a mortal can suck, but it's also really cool. So just get over it. Easier said than done, right? It's just science. Even the earth has the Schumann frequency. Wow, BoobTube, you're freaking awesome. I'm going to be straight up honest. I've never heard of the Schumann frequency, but I can imagine what that is. And yeah, people don't realize that we are all just forms of energy. Even money is just a form of energy. I agree with your statements. Aw. Schumann resonance, actually. I'm going to look that up. That is awesome. Dang. Schumann. Very, very cool. Well, and you know, when you think about like something like that, your Schumann resonance, your homeostasis within your body, and then when you're assaulted, especially um, violated in that most intimate way, what that does on a frequency level, and you know what that does to your brain and your body and your spirit. You know, I always like to refer to the cultures that think that a SA is worse than a red rum because they consider it an incomplete red rum. And I've always thought that that's a much better comprehension of that type of victimization and crime than our culture has any effing clue. Our culture is like really tries to um, downplay it like it's nothing. Like, oh, just get over it. It's not going to happen. I mean, people might pretend, they might lie to themselves and think that they just got over it. But that really hits you at such a level. I mean, it's just crazy. Like, I mean, having worked with so many victims and I'm trying to remember who I'm quoting. I think it's a book or a YouTube video that your body is the crime scene. Does that sound familiar to you guys? That's not my words. That's um, either a content creator or an author who said that. Your body is the crime scene. Is that so freaking profound? Your body is the crime scene. So you never leave the crime scene. You live in the crime scene. I got to remember who that was. Body is the crime scene. It's somebody that I not that long ago was revisiting. So if you know, if you've heard somebody say that, I'd love to give the author or the originator of that concept a shout out. It bothers me when I can't remember the source. Um, Gotta love science. I learned so much here. Oh, you're so awesome, Annabise. I'd say you're just flattering me. I feel like I learned so much here too. Like sometimes I think of things that I wouldn't think of if I wasn't doing this. That's the coolest when that happens. When I like say it out loud and I'm like, oh my God, I never even thought that. I didn't know I was going to say that. And it's just like one of those aha moments. But yeah, that person who said your body is the crime scene, like that was an aha moment when I came across that information. I was like, holy crap, Batman. Ain't that the truth? And I just wish I could remember who it was. Your body is the crime scene. I want to say it's a content creator. I want to say it's a YouTube content creator, but I'm not 100% sure. Let me see if you guys put anything in here about it. I am determined to learn as much as I can. I will be a sponge until I'm pushing up the daisies. I know. That's it, it's what inspires me. It's what makes me feel alive and like I have purpose and meaning. That is profound, Jazz and Boob Tube. That's why it's important to have spiritual healing. Yes, I agree. Yeah, you guys are so cool. Thank you. You're so nice. It's so awesome to have like the core group. And for other people that are watching that aren't chiming in, feel free to chime in, please. I, if you don't want me to read it out loud, you can just say, please don't read this out loud. But yeah, it's just really nice to have you guys here. Let's all figure out who said that. Your body is the crime scene. Isn't that brilliant? Freaking brilliant. I know who it was. It was this black woman who it's actually from like Netflix. So I'm going to figure out her name. She was, it was like this, it was when I was doing all the R. Kelly deep diving last year. So 3 black women made a documentary about how the Me Too movement did not apply to black women. It was like a white women only thing because black women have been seen as property and like almost I'm just going to say it. I don't believe it, but it's like almost like a black woman can't be essayed because they're seen as property because historically with slavery and all that crap. So these 3 women made a Netflix documentary where they talked about kind of the Me Too movement of the R&B world. And I will get the name of the docuseries and of the person who said it. So she was like the lead person in this docuseries. She's the one who said that. So she was a producer in the music industry for like 20 years. And then this MF assaulted her and violated her. And she didn't do anything about it because she didn't feel like she could. And I'm almost coming up with his name. I want to say Rusty or something like that. If any of this is ringing a bell for you guys, if you saw the series, let me, I haven't even touched my phone and I'm like an hour and 15 minutes in. So let's see if I do a Google for it.
So the Bobby Kennedy blackmail story is currently breaking.
Bobby Kennedy blackmail story is currently breaking. Yeah. So it's Friday. This weekend is going to be huge. And my phone won't shut up. God, I hate this crap. I hate the autoplay crap. Okay. So I'm trying to do Netflix documentary about sexual assault in the R&B industry. So the first one that comes up is Surviving R. Kelly, Surviving R. Kelly, Surviving R. Kelly, Surviving R. Kelly. And actually, yeah, it might have been HBO, On the Record. That's the name of it, On the Record, from 2020. On the Record. So it was not Netflix, it was HBO. It's awesome. Have you guys heard of it? So she's the one who said, your body is the crime scene. My body is the crime scene. So hip hop mogul Russell Simons. I said Rusty. Man, I was close. I think that might be his nickname. So Russell Simons is the one that she alleges assaulted her. And I think that so the film focuses on the experience of women, especially women of color, who accuse Simons of misconduct. It's important to note that On the Record is available on HBO Max, not Netflix. Okay. So let's see. On the Record, women interviewed. The lead women interviewed. Let's see. I better be more specific. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Dang it. Just start over. HBO Max, On the Record, women interviewed. And Drew Dixon. I think that's her name. I think. Yeah. So it's Drew Dixon, Sherry Hines, and somebody named Silai Abrams, Sillai Abrams, whose grape allegations against Russell Simmons are the crux of the new HBO documentary. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that that's who it is, Drew Dixon. Let me see what it says if I look her up. Just show me a picture of her and then I can confirm. Drew Dixon. Yep, that's her. That's who said it. That's the genius, Drew Dixon. Check her out, you guys. She's awesome. There, thank you, AI. See, technology is not all bad. Look at all these comments that I've missed. Hold on. I appreciate everyone's thoughts. Iron sharpens iron. Exactly. And I haven't thought of Drew Dixon in so long, but OMG, if you are interested and watch that documentary, she's stunning. She's the one that's being interviewed, her face on screen most of the time. It's absolutely genius. It's so well done. It's so well done. And yeah, it's only like 5 years old. And I also highly recommend the Surviving R. Kelly. I told you guys when I watched that last summer, it was very hard to make myself watch it, but I was so glad that I did. It was extremely educational. And all of the crap that he did with the singers is exactly what Little E and Little T did with art students and wannabe models. You know, they exploited the whole like Victoria's Secret thing, the whole like Russian beauty pageant thing, all of that crap, all the exact same crap. Disgusting. I love that boob tube. Iron sharpens iron. Drew Dixon. Yeah, I'd never heard of her. I'd never heard of Russell Simmons. I never even thought about the Me Too movement being like white women only, basically. You know, sometimes it's easy to be blind to that stuff since I'm a white woman. I mean, I've always seen sexism and assault, harassment as, you know, for everybody of every nationality and every color skin. But in reality, the Me Too movement, there wasn't a lot of it applied outside of white culture. I mean, and maybe some of that is necessary to take baby steps. I'll leave a little wiggle room there because it's not like I don't think that the Me Too movement was trying to be racist. I'm not saying that at all. Not at all. It was just inadvertent. Just like yoga can be kind of racist, yoga can be kind of sexist, yoga can be kind of like body shaming. And some people get creeped out by yoga because they think it's like a religious, like a cult, basically. So it's good to acknowledge those things and to prevent it from being a thing. Oh, let's see. Like Native American women are kidnapped and unalived, and it never gets any attention from media, even YouTube. Thank you, Anna Bees. So, for anybody who doesn't know, that red hand over the mouth, that like red handprint, it's symbolic of exactly what Anna Bees just said, of silencing. Um, there's so many not white women and kids that disappear every year that are completely underreported or unreported. It is nuts. It is absolutely nuts. And it's such a problem, and it's such a cultural problem that is overlooked and also not even believed by a lot of people, because a lot of people just can't comprehend that we even have like Native American reservations still, and that Native American reservations that are probably in every state, I'm not even sure, but that they are sovereign nations and they handle their own. So there's been more awareness raised around it with what was that weird TV show? Was it called Longmire? I haven't seen Yellowstone, but some of these television shows that are about kind of the you know where the buffalo roam, basically. I would imagine that most of those shows probably get into it. I know that Longmire did. That was, it was like a sheriff that was, his jurisdiction was like 4,000 square miles or something like that, just one guy. And so a lot of these crimes against the natives would happen, and it was really hard for him to chase down the villains, the perps. And then if they're doing it on Native American property, then it really can be silenced because the reservation can do with it whatever they want, basically. And it's a lot like, with all this Epstein stuff, I was thinking, like, when I was a teenager and I first learned about that whole like underbelly of our culture, I learned the term white slavery, that women and girls would get kidnapped and disappeared into what was called white slavery. So if it's people that aren't white, you're not going to call it white slavery, but now we call it ex-slavery with an S, right? And I often refer to it now as like the Handmaid's Tale nightmare. But it's not a new thing. It's been going on forever in every culture. And, there are so many women that still live in countries where that is, it's not only allowed, it's celebrated. It's the way of the world. It's nuts. It's completely nuts, and women have no rights in some of these countries. And I believe in my heart of hearts that that is exactly what Trumpster Fire wants to take this country back to. That's exactly what he wants to take this country back to, where the only people that have rights are the white dudes. That's it. And I think they're trying to thin out the herds, and they're trying to just literally and figuratively screw everybody. Damn it. Maybe I'll wrap up, but I want to read all your comments and I want to look at my notes. It's just that I've been on for an hour and a half and I want to let you guys go. Oh my goodness, it's 5 in the evening. It's Friday. It is the 18th of July. Thanks so much for hanging out, you guys. I always love to see you and chat with you. And I'm sorry that it's such heavy crap, but we're going to figure it out. We're going to kick some butt, right? I appreciate everyone's thoughts. Iron sharpens iron. I'm going to read that again because I really like that. And yeah, so true. Anna Bees, Sherry says about the Native American women being kidnapped and unalived, and it never gets attention from the media, even YouTube. I appreciate all of your thoughts too. I can't find anything with Netflix, but there's a Dr. Engels, let's see, that says that phrase, I guess. Okay, maybe Drew Dixon was one of Dr. Engels' clients, or maybe read a book or something. Maybe she didn't coin the phrase, but in my experience, as far as I'm no, in my brain, she coined the phrase about your body being the crime scene. See, that was funny too, because when I first said it, I had no idea where I got it. Remember, I was saying like it might have been YouTube, it might have been a book I read. It was neither. It was HBO Max, but it was like a year ago, and it stuck with me. I don't think I've ever shared it with you guys, have I? There's just so much to share. That's why I have to write things down because I can't remember even like the simplest word like wearables, those glasses that Melania or the person that looks just like Melania had on at the the World Cup. So yeah, I was saying how much she must despise hanging out with this man who has made such a mockery of her and her motherhood. And I mean, it's not like I have compassion for her because I think she's a prick too. Same thing with his kids. Like, I don't really have compassion for them. If they're not going to call him out for all of the weird coincidences about his freaking ear a year ago and their mother falling down the stairs 3 years ago and all of her exes that have passed away, if they're not going to call him out for that, then they can screw off too, even if they were victims of his. I mean, I hate to say that, but come on, like, you got to call a spade, and the buck has to stop somewhere. Like, if his favorite daughter was violated the way it seems like he very likely violated her, she needs to get it together, man. She can't let him continue to be a freaking world leader. Even as a victim, you could almost say it's her fault for not speaking up. Seriously. I mean, I'll reevaluate that because yeah, it is harsh to put that type of responsibility on someone if she had been victimized since the time she was small. I mean, that photograph of her on my thumbnail with the thick gold chain around her neck and the thick gold chain around her waist, and her daddy just like squeezing the F out of her hand and dragging her into this black tie event. I can't even fathom. Like, I just don't even want to interpret. Picture says 1,000 words. I don't want to interpret the 1,000 words that picture says. Let's see. Oh, Anna Bees is saying, Who said hi to you in Jules's live? Was that last night? Was that Sherry or BoobTube? Because I only saw a little bit of it. It didn't look like there was anything to the Koberger ride along file, so I was just I didn't have the patience to sit through because all this little e crap and the stuff with the floods and the fires and man, I wonder what we're going to find out about that bomb squad training in Los Angeles and the 3 deputies that lost their lives this morning. Unbelievable. I got to bounce. Hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Yeah, you too, BoobTube. And have a great day. Yeah, Longmire. Loved that show. Yeah, my husband watched all of it. I watched parts of it. And yeah, I thought it was very thoughtful. Well done. You're making me think of a movie that Val Kilmer was in. He was an FBI agent investigating a red room. So he ran into a bunch of problems on the reservation. Interesting. Yes, Anna Bees, that was a good movie too. It was me. Sherry was, you guys were in Jewels of All Trades live last night. Was it good? I mean, her channel is really good. She's very informative. She kicks some arse. I love that about her. She just lets it rip. She is what she is. No apologies. And I find that those are the content creators that I really like the ones that just kind of don't care if they are offensive. They just do their thing. It's like you got to just be yourself. And if somebody's offended by you, then it's kind of that person's problem, really. I mean, if I offend somebody, I always want to look at it. Because I might have said or done something stupid. I'll admit it for sure. Or it might have come across differently than how it was intended too. So there's that. And I want to share a quick story with you that is almost an unrelated note, but it translates to everything. You know how we had our dog with the cancer treatment that was like $10,000 in a year of cancer treatment. And then we had a dog a couple years ago that got super sick and died on New Year's Eve. So at the time we had all 3 dogs. We had Mookie, we had Luna, we had Coco. So Luna got super sick on New Year's Eve and we took her to the vet and we had her put to sleep the next day. And it was a lot of money. It was a couple $1,000s all in all. But when Coco got really sick and we did all the cancer treatments, we first did the 2 surgeries and then we did the radiation every day for 20 treatments this past February at OSU and spent all that time and money. My 13-year-old was very sad one day and she said, I just wish that you would have put as much importance on Luna's life when she was sick. And I was like, oh my God, dear, I'm so glad you said something because we would have. It was a completely different diagnosis, completely different prognosis, completely different. It's like apples and oranges. But had she not said something, she could have spent her whole life thinking that we prioritized Coco's life over Luna's life. And I can't even remember now why I wanted to share that story. But it's phenomenal. Just kind of the misinterpretation, I guess. I am remembering that, that wasn't what that was. Luna had some weird disease that she was going to pass away quickly, maybe same day. We could have prolonged it potentially for a little while. There were no guarantees. It was already expensive. It would have been even more expensive. And then you also have to weigh out, like, you're just prolonging the agony for your dog. I almost said child. And for yourself, like with Coco, we weighed out those same factors, like the money, the time, the quality of life, the trauma of the treatments. But yeah, had my little girl not voiced her thoughts and feelings to me, she could have gone her whole life believing that we chose to go the extra mile for one dog, but not for another dog because we had a favorite dog, which we didn't. We don't. So, anyway, it's just amazing how things can get misinterpreted. This is why communication is so important, right? Sherry said hi to me on Jules. That's cool. I love that, you guys. I'm back. Forgot to tell Anna about something, can't stay, but was reading up on sulfoxide, dimethyl sulfoxide, DMSO, and its effect on pain and healing on a cellular level. Thought of you. Good to, gotta go again. It was good. She does say what she says very much so on Jules. Yeah. Thank you so much. BoobTube Anna says, BoobTube, I was trying to remember what my mom and dad used for pain back in the day, and that was the stuff. Thank you so much. Oh, awesome. I'm so glad that we're still on so you guys could get that information across. So we are getting close to an hour and 45 minutes. Let me just see about my notes. Okay, Christy Nome said something insane. I think she said it today. This was about the floods in Texas, and she was being confronted in an interview about how she made that change with the FEMA money, that if anything were over $100,000, that it had to go through her personally, and that she had up to 5 days to approve it, and that it slowed down in an emergency situation in a really bad way. Christy Nome invented a new word, and I caught it and I wrote it down. And she denied the facts. And she said it was not slowed down at all. It was not slowed down at all. And she didn't catch herself or correct herself. The person interviewing her, I don't know if they just like missed it. It was not slowed down. OMG. Okay, on to the next thing. So some of the questioning too, and I don't know if this is accurate, that she denies that on July 5th that she and the Trumpster fire fired a bunch of people at FEMA, that on July 4th everybody's phone calls were returned, and then people were fired on July 5th, and then the next day like 65% of the calls weren't returned or something. I'm not sure if that's true and accurate. This was some questioning in an interview. But also to remember the Trumpster fire, when asked about Christy Nome's bullcrap with the flooding and the FEMA response, Trumpster fire's response, which to me is one of his big tells, is when he says, I don't know anything about it. Okay, dude, you're the president. It's your job to know everything about it. So you should admit that if you don't know. But if you don't know, you should get on it, right? When he says, I don't know anything about it, I think the exact opposite is true. I think he knows everything about it. But he goes on to say, in fact, she was the first one I saw on TV. So he's saying this in defense of her having a delayed response, in defense of FEMA having a delayed response. Those floods happened on Friday, a week ago today, or no, 2 weeks ago now. Damn, time flies. On July 4th, July 10th was when Vermont was flooded for the first or the third July 10th in a row, 3 years in a row, starting 2023, 2024, and now this year. What's up with that? Coincidence? Anyway, I digress. So 2 weeks ago, when those floods happened on a Friday in the wee hours of the morning, 4 a.m., and Christy Nome did not approve the FEMA until Monday. F that. And F a president who says, I don't know anything about it, it being a delay. And then, in fact, she was the first one I saw on TV. Like, who the F cares who you saw on TV? What does that have to do with anything? Do you only see your employees on TV? Do you not see them like in Washington, D.C., like in the White House or anything? Crazy. Absolutely crazy. So what about the effing flight on January 29th that was so highly suspicious? The Black Hawk that crashed into the airplane that was flying in from Wichita, Kansas, with all the ice skaters and lawyers on it. Russian ice skaters and lawyers. I'm not going to go off on that, but there's probably still a big investigation of that, but that was all of not even 6 months ago. And there's been so many literal fires and explosions and floods and things dropping out of the sky since then. I heard somebody on the news today talking about the Epstein crap, saying, with the way how fast the news cycle is at this point in time, who knows what we'll be talking about next week and if we'll even remember this. And I'm pretty sure we're going to remember this. And that was like, nice try for Donnie's team. No, we're not forgetting about this. Yeah, the guy's been dead for 6 whole years. Yeah, people have been talking about him for decades. It's not going away. If you haven't figured that out yet, you are dumber than a box of freaking rocks. But I guess some of these people are dumber than a box of rocks. What about the fire bombs going into Governor Shapiro's house? And that was like the same day as some other crazy stuff. Was that the same day as that helicopter that fell out of the sky above the Hudson River with the CEO and the global communications manager from Siemens Industries, that Spanish couple and their 3 children? Was that the same day as Governor Shapiro? I'm going to ask my Google real quick. It'll tell me, I think. Was the governor's mansion in Pennsylvania set on fire the same day as the helicopter crashed into the Hudson River in New York? No. Fire at the Pennsylvania governor's residence and the helicopter crash into the Hudson River did not happen on the same day. So the Pennsylvania governor's residence was Sunday, April 13th, and that helicopter crash was Thursday, April 10th. But there was another thing that happened on that Sunday, April 13th. What happened in the news on Sunday, April 13th, 2025, besides the governor's mansion getting set on fire? Bunch of tariff crap. What else? China. I don't know. Let me just ask if there was, because I could swear there was like a helicopter or a plane crash that day. Was it the one in near Mar-a-Lago with the guy who owned that company? That communications technology company? Plane or helicopter crashes in the United States on Sunday, April 13th, 2025. It was April 12th. It was the 6 dead after that small plane crash in upstate New York. So the dad and the oldest daughter were both neurosurgeons. The mom was some type of gynecological expert. Then there was the son who was like, I think business, like Wall Street type of stuff. And then there was the son's girlfriend and the daughter's boyfriend. That son's girlfriend was going to Harvard, and she was already specializing in immigration law. And then I think the boyfriend may have been in business also. But anyway, I think that's what it was. I think it was the April 12th. So and so weird. So 6 out of 6 lives were lost, but initially they thought that just maybe one is the initial report was at least 1 out of the 6 was fatal. But what about that thing with that giant Air India plane that now they're saying was intentional, but that one guy survived and the other like 200 and some people passed away? I'm just getting into the weeds now, but all this stuff is relevant. It's all important. It's all just out of control. Sorry if I'm going off the deep end. I'll pull it together so we can sign off. Did you think anyone would hold anyone accountable in this regime? No, Anna Bees, I never did, I guess. But I'm going to hold them accountable. But yeah, that whole thing about one of Trump's sons saying that he doesn't use that word enigma because that was used in that creepy birthday letter poem card that Trumpster Fire wrote to his bestie. I mean, that card was like a pedo's confession, was it not? Like, you can try to pretend anything you want. You can try to pretend that you didn't write it. I'm really happy that Rupert Murdoch decided to go ahead and publish it, because in the past he's kind of done whatever his dear Donnie has wanted him to do. And it's so weird because, you know, Rupert Murdoch was married to Mick Jagger's ex-wife. And I was mentioning Mick Jagger earlier, how he's in such great shape and he's in his 80s. But Rupert Murdoch, I think, is in his 90s. But Jerry Hall had married him for a couple of years. I think they just got divorced a year or two ago. So I think that that's about it. I think I should just go ahead and wrap up, even though there's so much more to say. I've been confused enough. I don't want to confuse myself or you any further. I haven't heard about the card. Anna Bees, what do you mean? What do you mean you haven't heard about the birthday card? OMG, it has set the world ablaze the last 24 hours. So let me just go into it really quickly. I'm going to set my notebook down. I don't know if AI will have, I can ask AI if it'll have the whole card. I think I asked it before and it was too soon in the game. It was too soon. What did Donald Trump write to Jeffrey Epstein in his birthday card for his 50th birthday? Oh, I'm going to see what AI has to say, and then I'll tell you what I have to say. What did reported birthday letter to Epstein say? Why Trump threatens to sue the Wall Street Journal. So I think this is an article, and this is from the USA Today 5 hours ago. And let's see what it says. So it was part of a book that Ghislaine put together for him. So Trump said the letter was fake, in quotes and all caps, in a Truth Social post, and called the story false, malicious, and defamatory, threatening to sue the Journal. The report comes as the Trump administration has faced mounting pressure from both Republicans and Democrats to release more documents, blah, 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 blah. What did Trump's birthday card to Epstein say? The Wall Street Journal reported that the letter with Trump's name on it contains an outline of a hand-drawn naked woman with typewritten text describing an apparently imaginary conversation between Trump and Epstein. According to the Journal, here is what it said. There must be more to life than having everything, the note started. Donald, yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is. Jeffrey, nor will I, since I know what it is. Donald, we have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, yes, we do, come to think of it. Donald, enigmas never age. Have you noticed that? Jeffrey, as a matter of fact, it was clear to me the last time I saw you. Donald, a pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret. Trump denied the letter again in a later Truth Social post. Yeah, the more you deny it, the more it looks like you're just denying it, because you could just be like, oh, that's bogus. Next. But no. He says this on his Truth Social post. Those are not my words, not the way I talk. Also, I don't draw pictures. But he actually said, I don't write pictures. So that's weird that it changed it from write to draw to make it sound like he's making sense. So he said, I don't write pictures. And the fact of the matter is, he does actually write pictures, because in the drawing of the naked woman, where the private part was his gross signature, supposed to look like hair on her private part. So that is sort of like writing a picture. But yeah, crazy is as crazy does. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. Love and light, my dear. Thank you so much for being here. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And I don't know that I'm going to be able to take a day off over the weekend, because there's just too much crap. Whatever it is that is going to be best for my own self-care and for the care of my messages in my YouTube channel, I'll figure it out. My guess is that I'm probably going to want to do both. I'm probably going to want to make a YouTube video about all this crazy crap, and I'm also probably just going to want to take a breather, because it's all just too much. But I'll just be spontaneous and take it as it comes. Thanks again for being here. I've got a sneezing doggy over in the corner. Love and light. Bye, Sherry. Thank you so much, you guys. Have a really, really good night and weekend. Take great care of yourself. Eat your protein and your veggies. Stay hydrated. And just be yourself. And love yourself, warts and all. And we will see you soon. Love and light, my dears. Thanks a million.